Okay, when someone come back on TikTok, I'm gonna ask them how's my audio. I can see it now. Okay. Well, but yeah. So your self mastery is something that you need to work on, or we it's a component of what we teach here. And for those that know, you do it in a way, whether you recognize it or not, within bettering yourself, whether it's through health, through spirituality, through reading, through education, through whatever it may be. We're all working on self mastery and to grow and do those things. So those are some of the components that it would take for you to be able to do those things and understand it. But to get on that too, everything else, if you're on YouTube, you can go to my description section and check out the things that we offer as far as the In the Circle University. The link that's in the description is for the In the Circle Ministry, and if you click into the menu section, you'll find the In the Circle University tab there. So you can go in there and check out some of the things that we've been talking about here lately, and some other things and processes that we do offer for those that do know the difference between who they are and who they portray to be, or who they would like to be known as, and to operate in a private life in a manner, and how to set your life up and to protect your assets, and how to separate yourself from certain jurisdictions. Also, we have the How to Win in Court by Dr. Graves with a link in it, and the code that goes with it that helps, that I get paid promotion out of. It teaches you how to properly defend yourself or properly represent yourself inside or outside in the courts and those things. Thanks, sis. Thanks for letting me know. There's something going on with the headsets or whatever, but um, most of the stuff I was talking is it was mostly for the TikTok world. For those that don't know, or I'm doing what we, what I've done before. Last time that we was on streaming on both sites. So, but I was talking more about self mastering and dealing with yourself and growing within yourself and continuously doing those things of that nature. But since that had went off, I'm just gonna pick up from where we at and continue to go. Um, so I was talking about the descriptions that you will find on YouTube for the Dr. Graves, how to win in court, learn how the court works and how to move the court through motions, how to fill out proper affidavits, and how to do all the proper paperwork and understand how the court works and operates. So you can properly defend yourself. There's no better person component of um, you representing yourself, because you know the story, you know what happened, and you will have your best interest in hand. But if not, just know that everything we talk about here is for spiritual, educational, entertainment purposes, and there's not considered to be legal advice. Just giving you my personal opinions and thoughts. But and we also have the In the Circle LLC, where we do home repair and mobile auto mechanics, from the Lancaster to the Columbia area, South Carolina, and from Lancaster to the Charlotte area in North Carolina. And we also have a cash out where if you would like to donate or give to the channel, you're able to. There's a way. So as I don't have to ask, if you feel, and if you're actually looking in the descriptions, you'll see the way to do whatever your heart feel leads you to do. And all those proceeds will go into the channel for software, internets, and things of that nature. Um, but yeah, check those things out in the description channel section. And those that are on TikTok, check my profile for some of the stuff there. If not, you know where to go. Find me at In the Circle Ministries on YouTube. Now that that's out of the way, um, we're going to talk about spiritual and um, congratulations, Robert. I can't use this. Hey, I don't know if you meant to join some or not over there on TikTok, but you end up joining. Okay. I'm not trying to join your thing, man. I know, bro. I know. I know, bro. I appreciate you watching. That was good. Good to see you. Yeah. I was letting you know that you had made it up there. So if you didn't mean to, you didn't. If you did, it was all good anyway. Long childhood friend there. Growed up with that guy. Great guy. And we would say, yeah, baby. But spiritual jurisdiction and lawful jurisdiction. Whenever you can look up the word jurisdiction in its simplest form, and you're going to find out it's basically like the way that certain laws can be done, way certain courts can handle, or certain corporations or entities can operate within a certain way, and how it's enforceable um, through their procedures, their rules, their laws, their regulations, or their creed, or whatever it may be. And so, in its simplest form, jurisdiction does matter. Especially, we're going to say, if we were talking about last week about the strawman and other things, being in federal jurisdiction, being in civil jurisdiction, um, those things matter. Being in a civil or criminal jurisdiction, that matters. Being in a state jurisdiction, that matters. The state has a lot to do with the license, uh, registering your home through the county of deeds and all those other things. And there's other state laws and things that um, we deal with in the everyday basis that the state governs, the highways, not only the traffic, the way you communicate up and down the roads. And then sometimes, like we talked about last week, the federal and the state, they coexist, they run hand in hand, they mimic each other, maybe with a few different um, things that happen. But most of the time, you can get yourself in state and in federal trouble, depending on what the thing is. Or you can operate and get benefits and privileges from the state or from the federal government, depending on what jurisdiction you're in and what you're trying to get, what you're trying to get federal funds for. And a lot of times, the federal funds are funded through the state entities, DHEC, Social Security, uh, things of that nature. Well, Medicaid, Medicare, you know, things of that nature. So whatever you're in and you're dealing in that jurisdiction, you have to follow those laws and strive lawfully. You have to follow those rules in order to attain those certain things, or there are certain things that it requires in order for you to get those things inside those jurisdictions. Um, so that's just on a civil basis. But when we deal with spiritual, uh, it's the same thing. I believe they're both just as important, and we have to understand and recognize what jurisdiction we in, what laws are we under, and what things have we submitted ourselves to, or what things have we agreed to abide by or be governed by. And that jurisdiction all depends on, I believe in everything in me. It starts and ends with your spiritual opinion, your spiritual awareness, and your spiritual identity, um, as to how far you would go. Um, well, your spiritual jurisdiction, depending on how far you would go anywhere else. So what I mean by that is, everyone has what we would call um, uh, core beliefs. Everyone has a way that they believe a certain way. They have perspectives based off whatever reason, how they come up with those perspectives. They have those perspectives. They have their beliefs. They have their truths. They have their opinions. They have their thoughts. And they have all those things, no matter where they're at. Um, and that core belief system, no matter what it is about the individual, um, more so, if you believe it or not, is your real spiritual jurisdiction that you're under. No matter if you're in Christianity, if you're in Judaism, if you're a Muslim, or whatever your religion may be, uh, it really doesn't, in a sense, dictate everything in the way you perceive, you believe, and how you do. So it weighs in. I guess the way to explain this too is like we was talking about a couple of weeks back. Like, we can all be in the same church, in the same building, hear the same sermon, and the individuals the preacher may be preaching about that may be in the the lesson or the story or the sermon, whether it's Paul, Jesus, whoever that may be, we all have our view, thoughts, and opinion of what that individual looks like. And if your mind is like mine, what they were wearing, or what they were doing, or what the scene might have looked like, I have a vivid, very vivid and an active imagination, which I'm thankful for. But reading a book or listening to something, I'm putting a picture with it, and whether we recognize it or not, we do with our own mind, and we put a picture with what we believe, perceive, and sometimes based off of what we have interpreted from what we was listening to, and they get sometimes to get crossed up in between the what we're hearing. We're listening, interpreting based off of what we're hearing. And a lot of time we have selective hearing because we have confirmation bias, or we have our perspectives, our beliefs, our thoughts, and our views about whatever we're bringing in. And once we bring those things in, this is where it fits into our kingdom or in our godship or into our world or our lives and our belief systems. And it becomes our core beliefs and how we act accordingly to those things, individual situations, or whatever. Hope this making sense. Well, I feel it is. I hope you're understanding it. So you can have Christian values and morals, and a lot of time too that I've noticed that no matter whatever it is, we as humans we have a way, no matter what our Christians, spiritual, religion, um, identity is, whether it's any of those other religions or whatever, we compromise with whatever that belief is. There's very few that are devout to whatever they're into and actually live by um, those governing laws in that jurisdiction of that real understanding. And there's people out here that have lived their life and given their all into that stuff with the misinterpretation and misunderstanding. But it is still the jurisdiction of the thing that you're under. So when you deal with spirituality and spiritual jurisdiction, what gives that spiritual belief, thought, or opinion that place of authority in your life? It's not for you to actually tell me. It's something like you ask yourself and you deal with yourself. It's like, um, okay, this version, identity of God, where did I get it from? Or this identity or this source of higher consciousness, a higher being, or higher thought, where do you get it from? Who gave it to you? Where did it come from? What is its source and what is its origins? Okay. Find out where, when, where, and how. We talked about before too. Do more research on it because most time our spirituality is what we base our whole life on. We're willing to bet our everything on it. And what I mean by that is we would take that belief and live our life accordingly to it to get an expected end result that, from my understanding, nobody has to have evidence of. So read in between that how you want to. Of the afterlife and what is the after, or to be like before life and what was before, in a sense. So um, you stake your life on it. Is it off of belief that is growing into what it is already going to be is a fact, or is it a belief that is myth, theory, opinion based, that's going to be only held together by those strings, and there will be no factual facts to prove it? I believe spirituality is just like air. Even though you can't see it, it's fucking there. You can keep stop it from entering into your body and see what happened with the absence of air. I believe spirituality is in that simplest form is what it is. Um, Ignorance, not being able to explain, not being able to pinpoint and give an example of what it is, that's myth, theory, and opinion. And a lot of time we follow those things and we won't search out that thing that we hold true as our core spiritual belief, whether it's Christianity, Muslim, Judaism, or do whatever. Any of these spiritual books that have been taught and broke down into religion, That religion is your spiritual jurisdiction. You're under those laws. And that thought process or that thought belief is what's going to bring about certain things in your life. It's going to bring about a lifestyle that coexists with those things, depending on how you're taking your view and how you see them and receive them. If you see things from God and you see things that are all good and there is no bad thing and there is no negative thing, that is all one. It's one source. It's one and all in one. And that all things are good, all experiences are good, whether if they're something that's going to give you instant profit or if they're going to give you a return on investment on your profit later from the experience that you learned, from whether to repeat that thing to get the same thing that you want or to cut that thing off and not do that thing to never receive that result again. It all depends on who, how, and what you are and when you bring those things in. If you're a good person, there are certain things that you can bring in and you can handle those things like that. So, but being caught up under the laws or the jurisdiction of any spirituality, I say check it out, see what it is, understand it, to make sure that you're not up under a jurisdiction that's going to cause you physical, mental, and spiritual anguish and torment and never achieving and never getting nowhere, always doing a yo-yo or roller coaster effect in your life and never really we'll say always learning but never growing into the knowledge. You know, it's places of achievement we have to get into our personal segue in this thing we call life. It may seem long, but it's a short trip that we live from our experience of perceiving and experiencing to the time that we exit this avatar. So research your stuff, find out where it comes from, find out if it's like the Bible we talk about here on other things. If it's up under the Bible, find out who really wrote what they call the Book of Mark. Find out how many authors and how many other people and how many other manuscripts and pieces of literature that they brought to compile this one thing that you know as the Book of Mark. Because Mark isn't one single individual who wrote the entire book. And it is like that with every other book in the Bible. So study, research, Quran, study, research, Kabbalion, study, researching, the Taoism, study, researching. You know, do that within yourself. I'm not just talking about taking everyone's outward opinion, but going on a soul search and to see what it is that it is about it. And when you come to it, I believe you'll come to a place that is all love, it's all energy, it's all good, and it's all for the betterment of yourself. And by you making yourself a better person, so does everything around you that is in contact with you. And it is contagious. But anyway, okay, so that's some of the things about the spiritual law and spiritual understanding. So when we come back to the civics, understanding that I am God, that I'm God all by myself, and that no one else has coerced me or no situation has forced me to make the decisions that I made in my life. Saying that now, because I wasn't able to see that then, when a lot of those situations were going on, but I'm seeing it now from a single eye and not from my plural eye. I'm not seeing it from a lower plane of understanding. I'm seeing it from a overstanding of experience. Is that I am God and all those decisions were made by me. Um, and there's a lot of things that has happened, going to happen, is going to continue to happen, all because of me. And with me being the source that I am and the energy source that I am, now that I've learned those things when I come to the civics and understand that who I am and how I am an energy source for anything that is connected to me that I've connected myself to. And we do this on a normal, when we do this on a regular basis a lot. So what I'm talking about is like into the system and governmental jurisdiction, federal, state, and all these other jurisdictions. You may find yourself in child support, family court that comes from state jurisdiction. Family court has jurisdiction over those matters, um, divorces, child custody, etc., etc. That was given to them from you leaving. I'm gonna say myself. I'm gonna do this for myself. For me leaving my private capacity and my parents first bringing me out of the private capacity. So when I speak of myself, I'm speaking about the things that I've done with my kids, not knowing the things that I know now, some of the other things. But anyway, my parents put me into the system by taking me. They took everything, they put it in the Bible like they always done. Always recorded all their documents in the Bible. Deep South Bible Belt raised Southern Baptist Christians down here. So everything was put into the Bible for that order, and that's a great thing too. Now, and you may hear me talk about it and talk a lot about the Bible and be discrediting dogma and tradition and giving more oversight and insight into some of the scriptures and things like that. But I don't talk bad about the Bible. It's just the people that have used it and done things with it. Like I said before, all things are good. But we got a birth certificate. Once they got the birth certificate, they applied for a social security card, which that took me out of the private and made me a state citizen, made me a ward of the state, made my parents two people who rent the kid. They're a pair that rents parents. And the state now has fatherhood, motherhood over the kids. And when it goes through that channel, then the mother, I know in South Carolina, I'm not going to say in every state because I haven't searched and researched every state, but I know in South Carolina, the mother has basically most of the rights. And I know that they're fixing and trying to take care of some things to where the father has just as much rights, et cetera, et cetera. But just for the purpose of conversation, most of the time the woman has the right. She can go up there and say that you've been thumping upside her damn head and then have CDVs. She can say that she has a kid by you and have you put on child support. Sometimes before the DNA test can be even taken or even proven, but you're in that jurisdiction because of your birth certificate. Point blank. Period. Uh, the Amish, the Jewish, and other people, and there's other ways of doing it without entering into the system. It's when you enter into the system, you have to understand. It's I believe feel like it's better to be educated and knowing what you're getting into outside of us already being into it, understanding what we're into, and then we people like myself getting out, separating myself, and handling myself back in my private God-like capacity. So understanding that I'm God and God by myself, and that I am the life force to all things created by me, for me, or through me. I am the energy force for that. So and so are you. But that retains in your private capacity. So when you change jurisdiction, like I was saying, by getting the birth certificate, Social Security, you step into state and federal jurisdiction. The Social Security, if you look on the back of your card, it's not even your card; it's theirs. It belongs to the Social Security Administration, who's funded on state and federal level. But it is their number. It is their birth certificate with your information. Does not give you ownership of their stuff with your name on it. Later on, talks will go about, and we'll talk more about trademark, copyright infringement, common law, copyright, much more other things that I've done, haven't done, but have knowledge and understanding and overstanding of it. But it is theirs. That is their document. There's their piece. That is their scroll man. That is their avatar. You, me being God, I have my own scroll man. I have my own representation, and I create my own piece. So when I go into their jurisdiction and handle myself, or my business has been handled within their jurisdiction, then it's my business is being handled, and I'm not being handled. So you can read between that it's not me that's representing, but it's the corporation, it's the trust, it's the entity that is doing business inside of all of that. And me myself, I am not in that jurisdiction because I don't own anything. Control a lot of things, but I don't own anything. There's nothing in my name. Everything is in a trust or a business. I operate through trusts and businesses and other entities for everything. Lights, cell phone, I own my cars, I own my trucks, I own my land. But anything else that's dealing out there, my life is my business. I am God. So everything I handle it as my business, and everything that I do is profitable, and it is a business. So I handle it that way, and I can render to Caesar what is Caesar's, and I can render to God what is God's. So you have to understand the difference between public and private, the jurisdiction of the private and the jurisdiction of the public. How, like I say, how you handle yourself and how you conduct yourself. So when I go into the public and I remain and I keep my private status as God when I go before them, because I go before them as God. All of my things are handled in that way. So even when I'm in their jurisdiction, I'm handled with exemptions. I'm handled with differently. I'm handled with care. um, but a lot of times that's not going to come unless you can understand it within yourself. If you can see God outside of the guy on the throne that sits high and look low, if you can see it outside of the church and religion or the tradition or the culture thing that you're in, view and opinion, and see that you are God, and you can understand more and more about some of the things I'm talking about. It'll give you more understanding and um, more energy to move in a certain way, so you can handle yourself right. You can correct the status of being a state citizen, which owes all of its allegiance to the state. Federal citizen who owes all its allegiance to the federal government. Being both of those through way of Social Security and birth certificate, when you deal with those things, your allegiance is your taxes. That is your money. That is your labor. That is your worth. That is everything that you attain will be registered to them through them, and you'll be handled a certain way because of your citizenship, your their jurisdiction that you walk in. So when you're in that jurisdiction, as we talked about earlier, even in spiritual jurisdiction, most religions they have a fundamental basis. You're going to have a bishop or a high priest, or you're going to have a pastor, associate pastor. You're going to have a deacon, deaconess, deacon board, trustees. You're going to have different facilities inside of there, and everybody's going to have their role. So what's inside of those roles, everyone has a certain way that they can operate with inside of that jurisdiction. And if they're not, they can be penalized, fined, stripped of their position, stripped of your freedom, stripped of your property, or stripped of whatever else it is, depending on how you're functioning. Um, in the trust world or in other places like this is what we call fiduciary duty. You can get in trouble for messing up in your fiduciary duty, your obligation. So knowing that your spiritual jurisdiction is going to help you understand how you should be able to operate and still be able to get the benefits. And you can leave what God said that He will leave down to the fourth and fifth generations, and the blessing of God will be upon them and operate certain ways. Um, yes, do I know that once attaining that state license or whatever, that's not me, that is their straw man, that is their individual on that license. And if anything happens, that's who it's happening to, whether it's through monetary or taxation or do whatever. But I'm not running down the road hauling ass. I'm not drunk driving. I'm not out here causing injury or harm to anyone else. I'm not getting pulled over. Even with all the protection that I have, the biggest protection I have is not getting into shit, not putting myself in situations where my exemption has to come into play, if that makes sense. Um, so just doing the right thing. I'm not here hurting, harming, robbing, stealing, doing anything to nobody. I'm not in trouble with the law or nobody else. I'm not evading taxes or avoiding taxes or whatever the one they say that's not legal. One is legal tax avoidance. It's legal, and tax evasion. It's illegal. You know what I mean? So that's setting up yourself in a taxable place. In the first place you want to do is pull yourself out of that jurisdiction, that lawful jurisdiction, because it has laws, statutes, codes, penals, procedures, whatever they have, it's set up. And a lot of people teach you to do things and say you can do this and you can do that, you can buck and you can pull yourself out of their jurisdiction while in their jurisdiction and get you beat across the head in your pockets and in other ways as well. What I mean by that, time, energy, and other things wasted. So learn the rules, learn the game, learn the jurisdiction. Depend on your spirituality. Check your spirituality. Grow on your self mastery. Grow on your self growth. Bring things up under the microscope. And then within that is how a lot of this stuff was brought to me and how I'm able to have understanding and things of that nature. Um, And that spirit, the inner person that you are, it will contest to the truth of anything outwardly that you bring in. You just got to be truthful with those truths when you see them, and not want to hold on to it because it sounds good or it feels good. So, like I was saying earlier, you step and put your place self in a place, and you allow the government to be interveners or mediators, and also the boss and the trustees over a lot of things. They're the governing party. So you step into um, their arena, you step into their jurisdiction, and you start handling yourself and doing things. Then, um, challenging jurisdiction really doesn't matter. Where it matters is in some truthful shit. How do they get subject matter jurisdiction? How do they get um, um, personal jurisdiction? How did it come about? So you have to understand contract and understand how contracts work, or agreements. Contracts are no more than agreements between two people, offer and acceptance, whether it's unilateral, bilateral, spoken, unspoken, given, implied, whatever. However, still the same thing. There's an offer and there's acceptance. Same thing with spirituality. There's an offer for heaven or hell, an offer for a better life, offer for enlightenment, peace, love, joy, happiness, and there's an offer of hell. So you choose. Still a unilateral. It's still a contract. So you're going to choose either or whatever it may be. This it's always the same thing. It's all acceptance. It's always going to be an offer. So when you step into those things, you may step into it for the benefits of Medicaid or for Medicare, or if you're already in it, stuck in it, like we were all, a lot of us was already put into it by a parent that was taught to do the right thing so as we can handle ourselves in this world. You can't get a job, you can't get a license, you can't get anything without a birth certificate or a social security card, which is bullshit. You can get those things with your own drafted birth certificate, notarized and handled in a certain fashion. Um, you can get EINs and other um, um, identification numbers to handle yourself if you want to go into the system and get things of that nature, however, whatever. Or if you have to get into the game and join the game, there's certain things that you can do. And then you got to know there's certain things you cannot do. You're not going to be able to go in, get a W-2 job with a CPN or a EIN if you're not truly born outside alien. That's not going to work. You're going to have that social. If you do get through and get through long, you won't have that job long. They're going to get rid of it because that's the way they work in their jurisdiction. And I'm not saying everything is so-called right or smooth. That everything got loopholes. Do everything have weak spots? Is everything penetrable in a sense? Yes. Is there flaws in them? Yes. But it's been working and it'll continue to work. And if you learn how to work and use it for the purpose that it's used for, then you can be profitable. You just have to understand your spiritual and your lawful jurisdiction that you're in. Don't mix private and public. You can keep them separated. You have to understand that. You have to keep them separated. You can handle yourself privately in the public. Same way Jesus walked around and they got ready to kill him, he disappeared before their face when they got ready to stone him, and he was there no more. You can handle your business in that same manner, bro. You can utilize the social till you don't utilize the social. You can utilize the trust. You can utilize a bunch more other things to get what you want. Learn the game. Learn the pieces. Learn the information. If you're on your self course, or you're on your own search and your own journey, you've already been looking for certain things, you can join our Inner Circle University as well, where we can get hand on hand mentoring, proving stuff that actually works that I've done, and be able to assert who you are and regain your God given right, so as you can live through your God given constitutional protected rights. The things and the rights that you have to life, liberty, and freedom, you have them that was given by God. The decision to be debt free, in debt, out of bondage, in bondage, those things were given to you. These are things that you did. These are the things that I've done. These are the things that we do. So um, there's really, really no way, in a sense, to say that You can join to the private, like a lot of people are going to promote. You come to the private, you change your status. Now you can have all your bills prepaid. You can have everything taken care of. Everything is free. Don't fall for that. I know it may feel good because you're in a situation, or you're going through something, or you may be in a jacked up spot or situation. But um, as they say, little boys me back. Don't trust a big button to smile. That girl poison. Don't trust all that shit. Do your own research. Do your own study. Um, there's other ways to be profitable, to be in the private, and to how to leave Egypt with all the things that you've attained while you was in Egypt. In a sense, you can understand what that means by spoil. The children of Israel, they spoiled Egypt when they left, with all the gold and all the things and the possessions that they had when they left Egypt out of bondage. So you can leave and be able to attain and keep your assets. Another thing before we get off of here too is, like we talked about, asset protection. Learn how to deal and operate through trust. Learn how to protect your stuff before and if and when you have to go back to the system. If you do need to go to a nursing home, or your loved one do have to go to that place because financial situations do occur, you want to have your stuff protected before you get into Medicaid and Medicare. And the government's going to take all whatever it is that your family member have worked, struggled, sweat, sacrifice for. Lost time at home, lost energy, not giving at home, time away from family and everything else, just to work and to get the things that they have, and to be given all to the state, to be sold and given out to creditors as if it ain't shit. So protect their assets, protect their legacy, protect what they built for you, and the intents that they had to leave behind for you and yours. So let us help you out with it as well. Learn how to protect those things. So if you do go in those situations, then you won't own anything. And when you go into the system, you will go into the system as one that is in need of those benefits and privileges, and you will have no hindrance into receiving those benefits and privileges. But um, I'm a component of building wealth and building your shit up right, so you won't have to worry about it and being in that financial bind. But that's not, may not be the plan for each and every one. And like I say, we have successful helping in those areas as well. But it's better to do it now. And I'm not talking about nothing like life insurance. I think this is the best life insurance that you can have, is to protect your assets and make sure that they're put up in an irrevocable trust where can't nobody touch it, can't nobody mess with it, and your will be done upon the earth as it is in heaven. Once you reach to the heavens, or you go back to your spiritual essence, that will that you have there that you left on earth, it'll be handled, it'll be taken care of, and those things will be left for those that is intended for. So, like I say, I think that's the best insurance that it is. It skips probates, it skips creditors, it skips everything and everything. What remains private stays private. What remains public is up for scrutiny. What's for the public is for the public. So when you do enter the public, do know that you're there to do a public service, even if you're there for your private good. That's the way the system works. That's the way the money rolls. That's the way. That's the only way this commodity or the system works. So. So understanding those two things, like I say, I know I'll be doing more. Um, I really didn't like sit down and prepare for nothing. I had the thought today and said, I'm coming on. This is what we're talking about. We'll see what it leads and it heads. Um, but understand those things. When you understand the simple concept of jurisdiction, if you want to understand jurisdiction of your job, get your job's handbook, rule books, policies, and procedures. You want to know things of that nature. That's how you're going to find out the jurisdiction um, that they operate in, or that you agree to. And up under that law, of what allows the jurisdiction, allow the law to be enforced. The jurisdiction allows the rules to be enforced. Jurisdiction allows the reward, risk, all this other stuff to be handled and distributed out through that way. That's what jurisdiction is, the right to handle it that way. So um, continue to search on yourself and your spiritual jurisdiction. See how, or whatever it may be that you're giving jurisdiction to. And is that source, that entity, that higher being, or whatever that may be, your view of God or that higher source, is it giving you what it said it would do? Now, do you believe? Is it doing it? How long you been doing it? And how long should it have taken for the things to come to pass? But anyway, um, and then you have the right to change jurisdictions. That's the other part about all of this. You have the right to change spiritual jurisdiction. You have the right to change lawful jurisdiction. You have the right to travel. And I'm not talking about that other bullshit about, driving on the road with no license and no insurance and all this other stuff. So anyway, you have the right to travel. That's what we are. That's who we are. We're travelers. We're not, well, for me, I'm not from this world. I happen to be traveling through. Foxes have holes, the bird have nests, but me, the son of man, I have nowhere to call home here. That's why I don't own shit here. Just passing through. Making sure that all my fellow followers that have come through my bloodline and my descendants that'll be coming through traveling won't have shit to worry about neither when they come here as well. Sitting here to make preparation for them. So anyway, if all this great stuff I talked about helped you, liked you, give me a like, give me a share, give me a comment, give me a one, give me something, give me some interaction, some way, shape, form, or fashion. Subscribe, like, and follow. Go check out the links that I'm telling you about to see if there's anything else that sparks your interest, that you may be curious about, that you may already be stepping into at the university, and we'll help you understand more about the private and the public and how to operate yourself and live a more productive life in the private, and you stay in your private capacity. Okay? But until next time, TikTok, YouTube, I thank you guys. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes, your shares. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your love. And thank you most of all for being your unique self. And thank you for not settling for being mediocre. Thank you for being the best you that you can be. And you continue to work on your self-mastery and keep that shit up under the microscope. Just know, when you come up from under the microscope, you got to be God and God all by your own. So create the beautiful garden. Create the beautiful man. Create the beautiful earth. Create the boundaries. Create the heights. Create the depths. Create the creatures in between the high and the lows. Do that for yourself in your life. I love you. You guys have a great night. And until next time, peace. And if you're on TikTok as well, as I said before I get off of here, catch me. I'll be streaming every Wednesday on YouTube and TikTok. But if you become a member, subscribe, or something like that into the TikTok world, or you become a member or whatever, it's discount for the in the Circle University as well, inside of those memberships, and you'll be able to get any lives that I do after I do them, and you better keep them for yourself. They're not like YouTube. So, but love you guys, both platforms. Thank you. You guys have a great night.